Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. I have another family favorite recipe that I'd like to share with you, and it's called creamy potato soup with smoked sausage. Tejfölös, Krumplileves, Füstölt, Kolbászal. All you will need for this recipe is 5 medium-sized red potatoes, 275 grams of smoked sausage, 4 spring onions, 3 cloves of garlic, 3 sprigs of fresh parsley, or 1 teaspoon of dried parsley. And today I'm just going to use 1 teaspoon of dried parsley. 1 teaspoon of Vegeta or vegetable base, a half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, 2 tablespoons of flour, 500 milliliters of sour cream, 8 cups of water, and 2 tablespoons of margarine. So first of all, in a stock pot, I'm going to fry some chopped onions in melted margarine until the onion is glossy, sort of like it has a glossy appearance to it. So I'm going to start doing that. So I've got my temperature, and I've brought the temperature up to approximately a sort of a medium to high level. I'm going to start melting the butter, and then I'm going to quickly bring it down to a low to medium level. So I'm going to be melting the butter. So this was a very another family favorite recipe of my grandmother and mother. So my mother would make this from potatoes, and she would use smoked sausage with it. Cut up about 375 grams. You could add more if you wanted to. If you preferred more, you could add about 400 grams. And I've got my 5 medium red potatoes. Now red potatoes are probably better to use because they don't become mushy. They kind of they keep their kind of like their firmness more than the other potatoes. So that's the kind of potatoes that my mother would use, is the red potatoes. That's what she recommended for this recipe. So I'm going to take my spring onions, and I'm going to kind of like fry them down in my margarine. And my mother uses margarine. She says that when you're working with sour cream, it's better to use the margarine. You're going to put sour cream in a recipe. I'm just going to fry that down. And this is a meal in one. You can actually serve this as a meal altogether. It's actually a main dish. And it's quite tasty with the smoked sausage. It gives it the kind of like a smoked flavor to it. So I'm going to just put in the garlic, and I chop them kind of like small. And I'm going to continue doing that. I'm going to continue frying the onions. Now there are spring onions in it, so you're going to want to be careful with that, because I've used the green part of it also, the stalk part of it, for the recipe. I've used the onion, but I've also used the green stems for the stalk part of the spring onions. I'm just going to stir that, make sure that it's fried down. I'm going to bring the temperature down to about medium now. Watching, and you should be continually stirring this until you pour the water over it. And then when you add the sour cream flour base, you have to kind of keep a real close eye on it, because it can burn quickly. This is something that you'd want to stay at the stove with when you're making this particular recipe. Now once the water is, when I pour the water over, once I've sauteed all the sausage and the onions and the garlic, then once I pour the water over it, then you can leave it to cook until the potatoes get soft enough. So now I'm going to add the potatoes. So I've diced up the potatoes, so the bite size, as you can see. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to continue kind of frying it, sauteing it, and then I'm going to continue doing that for a bit, about five minutes or so. And then just make sure that you're stirring all the ingredients well together. I'm just going to bring the temperature up slightly a bit, up to medium to high. Let's get this going here. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is then I'm going to add my salt and pepper and the Vegeta. Okay, so I'm going to add the seasoning to it. So as that is frying, and then of course the parsley, this dried parsley, which I'm adding to this. So I'm going to add this quickly to the recipe. And I'm going to continue stirring it. It's smelling just great now with the onions and the garlic. And then of course I'm going to add my spices. This is the Vegeta. Now if you can't get Vegeta, you can use a vegetable base, and then pepper. Add pepper. If you want to add more, I mean my recipe calls for about ½ teaspoon. You can add more if you like more pepper. And if you find that there's not enough seasoning in it, I'm just going to get this going here. Bring the temperature down to low to medium. It's looking good. It's got a contrasted green, and of course the potatoes. And then I'm going to add my sausage, my smoked sausage, to it. And this is about 375 grams of smoked sausage. I bought it at my local deli. And you can add more if you want. If you want to add 400 grams, if you like lots of sausage in your soup. And I'm just going to continue, bring the temperature up a bit to about medium. So you kind of alternate the heat as you're stirring, just to make sure that you're not burning anything, especially the onions and the parsley. And so I've got all the seasoning in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 8 cups of water to this, and I'm going to let it cook until the potatoes, I'm going to check to make sure that the potatoes are cooked. And then I'm going to show you, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you to add the flour and sour cream mixture. I'll just stir this around a little bit more. It's important to do this before you actually pour the water over it, just to get the flavors inside of the soup. And I've got approximately 8 cups of water here, about 2 liters. And this should cover the ingredients, cover over the ingredients. Now I'm going to put a lid on this pot, and I'm going to leave it half, sort of like a little bit slightly off the top of the pot. And I'm going to let this cook at about probably around a medium level. And I'm going to check to make sure that the potatoes are ready before I add the flour and the sour cream mixture. I'm just going to leave the lid on that way. And I am going to be back to show you what this great recipe looks like when the flour and the sour cream mixture is put together. So it's really important that when you mix the 2 tablespoons of sour cream and flour, that you stir it really thoroughly and make sure that there's no lumps in that mixture before you actually add it to the soup. And then what you do is you bring it to a boil, sort of a medium boil, and you want to make sure that you're stirring it and make sure that it's not going to burn on the bottom of the soup. So what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll show you what this great recipe looks like. Welcome back again to Irinka's Kitchen. I had on the stove some creamy potato soup with smoked sausage, Tejfölös, Krumplileves, Füstölt, Kolbászal. And what I did was I added the sour cream and flour base to it, and then I brought it to a medium to low boil. And I continually stirred it, and I made sure that that was brought to a boil, and now it's ready to be served. And I'd like to show you this great recipe. The house has got the aroma of the smoked sausage and the garlic and the onions, so this is a fantastic recipe. This is actually a meal in one, so you could actually serve it as a whole meal. So I'm going to show you what this great recipe looks like. So I put it into a soup bowl. Now this would be a large serving. This is what probably my husband would eat. I'd probably eat half that amount. So I'm just showing you what this great recipe looks like. So this soup would probably serve about between 4 and 5 people. So as you can see, there's the potatoes, and of course it's got that creamy texture to it because of the sour cream and the flour. And of course the spring onions kind of give it a little bit of other colors to the contrast to the soup. So I hope that you enjoy cooking this soup for your family and friends. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at irene@irinkaskitchen.com or irinkaskitchen.com. Until next time, bon appetit, jó étvágyat!